Now, I want to talk about these Observer Awards. The results of the 43rd Annual Wrestling Observer Newsletter Readership Awards. Keyword readership. As voted on by the Observer readers, which includes fans and people within the wrestling industry. These are not voted on by Dave Meltzer, which some people still think is the case. We go through this every year. They are not. And I personally don't even really put much stock into them, but because of some of the results were very interesting. And so I thought I'll go through some. I'm not going through every single category he's got here. And it's always a mix of wrestling and MMA, and I overall just don't give a shit. But Tony Khan, we know he cares because he's won multiple awards every year, and he always tweets about it, and he wears it as a badge of honor. Well, Tony Khan can't be very happy about this. I'm sure he is demanding a recount as we speak. WWE swept the awards for Promotion of the Year, Promoter of the Year, and Booker of the Year. And yet nearly every single one of the other awards went to promotions other than WWE. But let's start out with the Lou Thesz Ric Flair Award. This is the Wrestler of the Year Award. Great matches. So not just about box office and business, but there is obviously, especially with the Observer readership, a heavy emphasis on work rate and great matches. And no surprise then in that regard, the number one ranked Wrestler of the Year, Will Ospreay. Number 2, Cody Rhodes. Number 3, MJF. Number 4, Roman Reigns. Now, I look at Roman Reigns, and you see how dominant he's been for 3.5 years. The problem with Roman Reigns in a category like... First of all, in an awards like this, Roman Reigns is not going to be a favorite. Part of the reason is because he's hurt by his schedule. He just doesn't work a lot of matches. I mean, how many title defenses did he have in 2023? 5, maybe? I'm surprised he made it that high. Number 5, Bryan Danielson. Number 6, Mystico. Number 7, Seth Rollins. Number 8, Kazuchika Okada. Number 9, Kento Miyahara. And number 10 is a tie between Tam Nakano, the lone female on this list, and Jon Moxley. And that's your top 10. I find the lack of Gunther on this list to be offensive. Tag Team of the Year. FTR, number 1. No argument there. Number 2, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Number 3, Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. Number 4, Takuya Nomura and Fuminori Abe. Number 5, the Young Bucks. Number 6, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. Number 7, Francesco Akira and TJP. Number 8, the Usos. Number 9, Jun and Rei Saito. And number 10, the Acclaimed. Now we got Best on Interviews. And the winner of the award for interviews, Eddie Kingston. Again, it's hard to argue because Eddie Kingston is fantastic on interviews. He's one of the very few in wrestling today who has that authenticity that I love. You know, I don't listen to him and it sounds like he's playing a part. I listen to him and I say, wow, he's being Eddie Kingston. And he knows when to turn it up, you know, and be really super intense, and when not to be and to be reflective. We saw that in the Continental Classic when he fell behind. Eddie is great. And so I have no issue with him being number 1. Number 2, MJF. Number 3, Christian Cage. Number 4, Jon Moxley. Number 5, Cody Rhodes. These are all fine choices so far. Number 6, Bryan Danielson. Number 7, Will Ospreay. Number 8, CM Punk. That'll get people talking, having Punk behind Ospreay on promos, on interviews. I don't know about that. Number 9, LA Knight. And number 10, Don Callis. Here's my issue with this list, because you can make arguments for all these different people. No Samoa Joe. Where the fuck is Samoa Joe on this list? He got an honorable mention. An honorable mention for Samoa Joe, not even cracking the top 10 on interviews. Yeah, I have a problem with that. I mean, I know that it wasn't until the very end of the year that he won the world title and he wasn't, emphasized as much as some of these other people, but even still. It's not best on interviews for those who are being emphasized in a top spot. It's best on interviews. In an industry and a company where Samoa Joe is a full-time active performer, to not put him in the top 10 is ridiculous. Then we get to Promotion of the Year. And the promotion of the year for 2023, as voted on by the Observer readers, World Wrestling Entertainment. You have to go all the way back to the Attitude Era to find the last time WWE won Promotion of the Year. It was way back in the year 2000, which I happen to think was their best year creatively. So that's not a surprise. But the fact that it's been 20 plus years is pretty surprising. But you know what? Deserved. Deserved. They had a comeback year, and maybe I'm just colored by having so many fucking terrible years of creative with this company. It got bad, okay? It got real bad. You go back over the last 5-6 years, it got bad, okay? So now we're in a position where we're getting stories that are better, that I think are more engaging than they used to be. Characters, the thing about this company right now, and it all boils down to what criteria you consider for promotion of the year. What goes into that? I don't know. It's subjective. It's whatever you think should go into promotion of the year. Are you judging it mostly by the quality of the in-ring work on the shows? Are you judging it purely based on business? Because by that metric, there's no other promotion that comes close. Everybody else is a distant number 2. So are you going based on business and ticket sales, money generated, merch? How many stars each match got? Everybody's criteria is going to be different. I look at WWE, and the thing that amazes me about them, it's really not shocking to me that they're able to make so much money because they have that guaranteed money. That's just the way things are now. Even with AEW, they get a guaranteed amount of money from Warner Brothers Discovery. WWE is getting a lot more money, and they're getting it from multiple places. They're getting it from NBC Universal. They're getting it from Fox. They're going to be getting it from Netflix. They're getting it from the CW, right? It's no surprise they're making all this money. They're guaranteed. They're idiot-proof, right? Their creative could suddenly tank tomorrow and be in the toilet, and they still will make money hand over fist. It's just the way business is today. But the number of stars they have, it's the number of people who are genuinely over at the top of the card. The number of baby faces that are over right now, who get superstar reactions when they come out and sell merch and all that stuff too. But just watch the shows. And when Cody Rhodes comes out or Seth Rollins comes out and they sing his stupid song, or LA Knight comes out, his reactions have tamed a little bit over the last couple of months. But he still gets a reaction when he comes out. Or any number of people on these shows. I mean, Roman Reigns is a heel. Obviously, he gets a big superstar reaction when he comes out as well. And on and on and on. But they have a lot of stars right now. More than I can ever remember at any one given time. I mean, they always had people that were over in different ways. Even the Attitude Era. Like, you had Austin and Rock. And the supporting cast, everybody was over. I haven't seen anything like this since the Attitude Era, where you had so many people, even mid-card people, who are just that over with the audience. It's just a feeling that you have. You can feel that this company had a lot of momentum last year, and it's carried over into this year. So I say, deserved. Number 2 is All Elite Wrestling. 2023 was not their best year. Number 3, New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've fallen off even more than AEW has, if you believe that AEW has fallen off, which from their peak they have. I feel like the peak, I go back to that All Out show in 2021. That, to me, felt like the peak. And then we all know what happened at All Out in 2022, and it just wasn't the same after that. There was just this cloud hanging over that company for so long that only now does it really feel to me like they're finally starting to shed that. But number 4 is CMLL. Number 5 is UFC. Number 6 is All Japan Pro Wrestling. Number 7 is Stardom. Number 8 is Impact Wrestling, now TNA. And number 9 is Dragon Gate. We didn't even have enough to get 10. We only got 9. Worst promotion of the year. We go from best promotion to worst promotion. Worst promotion of the year. And you got to keep things in perspective here, because the number 1 choice for worst promotion of the year only has 456 votes. Whereas in the other category here, let me see here, WWE won for best promotion, and they had almost 2,400 votes. So the number 1 choice here only has 456 votes, but it is the NWA. Number 2 is AAA, and then at that point you go down to 88 votes. Number 3 is WWE. So you had WWE voted Promotion of the Year. And then in Worst Promotion of the Year, WWE is number 3. Amazing. Number 4 is Control Your Narrative. Now, this is this is something else. Control Your Narrative. You might be thinking, what? That's still a thing? They didn't run a single show last year. How are they on this list? Who are these 17 people that voted Control Your Narrative as worst promotion when they did not run any shows? I want these 17 people to show themselves. Number 5 was a tie between MLW and GCW. It goes right to number 7 here. Another tie between Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Noah. And at the very bottom of the worst promotions list is AEW with 12 votes. Then we get to Best Booker. Best Booker, this is the one that had to sting the most for Tony Khan. Number 1, Paul Levesque. Triple H was able to take the bloodline and ride that wave all through 2023, even though by the time SummerSlam rolled around, they had already jumped the shark on a lot of the bloodline stuff, and it wasn't nearly as interesting. Rock now is trying to breathe some new life back into it and make it interesting again. But, Gunther, the reign of Gunther as Intercontinental Champion, and the way that he's been booked, it's just so different than your traditional dominant heel champion in WWE. It's a stark contrast between him and Roman Reigns. When you look at the way they're booked, where Roman, he can't win a match by himself to save his life. Last time I can remember Roman Reigns winning a match without any assistance from his family, I think, and even then, I'm not sure if they got involved or not, was Logan Paul at Crown Jewel a couple of years ago. Look at Gunther, right? A heel, but for the most part, he doesn't cheat, right? He does it the honorable way. I mean, you had Jimmy Uso the other night get involved, but that had nothing to do with Gunther. So it's been refreshing to see him booked as strongly as he has been. That's carried over into this year. So I give him his flowers for that. Obviously, he's a big fan of Gunther's work. But then you look at some of the other things on this card, and whether it's Chad Gable and that great little story they had with him towards the end of last year, and they devoted a good amount of television time to it on Raw, and then they just dropped it. There was no follow-up to it or anything. It's like you had something there. I'm not saying world champion, but you had something there. And it's like, no, we're going to put the brakes on that. Maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we won't. There were a lot of things throughout the year when it came to the women's division, right? Nobody is going to watch WWE programming and doubt that they don't have a lot of talent in their women's divisions on Raw and SmackDown and in NXT. But you can't sit there and honestly tell me that the booking, because this is a Best Booker award, that the booking of the women's divisions on TV has been stellar throughout 2023. That is not the case. So he's got positive marks, he's got negative marks. Him being number 1 on this list over Tony Khan, I'm not going to argue it, because I don't think Tony Khan had a stellar year either. But he came in at number 2. He won the award for the past 3 years straight. No more. Now he plays second fiddle on this list to Paul Levesque. And this is the audience that matters to Tony Khan, so it might not matter to you or me. But when he got this result, and he saw that, he saw who was above him on this list, it had a sting. It had a sting. Number 3 is Juan Manuel Mar. Number 4 is Shuji Ishikawa. Number 5 is Rossi Ogawa. Number 6 is Geto. Number 7 is Shawn Michaels, who seems absurdly low on this list. Number 8 is Andy Quildan, and number 9 is Scott D'Amore. And then we have Promoter of the Year. Khan wins for Promoter of the Year. But not Tony Khan. Nick Khan wins for Promoter of the Year. Tony Khan came in at number 2. The 4-year streak is over. Tony Khan is no longer the Promoter of the Year, according to the Observer readership. Look, Nick Khan came in like a tornado into this company back in 2020, right? He had all this experience as a sports agent, and he represented certain people, and he has made a lot of connections in the entertainment world, and he's a big player. He's a big power broker in that world. But he was put into a position working in this company as a president, and now being, I guess he's, CEO now, I guess. He's in a position now where, I think of I think of, in terms of video games, in Mortal Kombat, when you would beat somebody and then your character avatar would move up the mountain, right, in the competition to the next challenger. And you have these different people that have worked for WWE, the McMahons, all the McMahons, really. But like Nick Khan has continued to ascend up the mountain until now he has reached the very top. It's basically his company. Him and Triple H are running the show in this company. They answer to Ari Emanuel, but he's the new Vince McMahon for all intents and purposes. And it's been amazing to see this guy work his way up to the top. And obviously he's a very smart guy, very, very shrewd businessman. Has a lot of big ideas. This whole international push, all these big stadium PLEs that they've done, that's all part of his vision. And him bringing sports personalities into the company. We've noticed very noticeable changes in WWE production this year so far, since Kevin Dunn retired. And they brought in the person from ESPN. And there have been a lot of positive production changes on the show. And I think we're going to we're going to continue to see more of that as the year progresses. That's all part of his vision. I mean, he has really transformed this company into something so much bigger than it was. And when you think of Promoter of the Year and what goes into Promoter of the Year, again, everybody may have their own criteria, but you get no argument out of me. You know, I can't argue with the success that the guy's had. So Nick Khan at number 1, Tony Khan at number 2. Number 3 is Dana White. Number 4 is Chavo Lutarov, the third. And number 5 is Rossi Elgawa. That's your top 5 for Promoter of the Year. Then we get to Best Weekly Television Show. Now this is a category that usually leans heavily towards the best matches, not necessarily the best overall show. And this is the best way to look at it this year, especially when you see that AEW Dynamite was voted the number 1 best weekly TV show. For the 5th straight year, wins the award for best weekly television show. So every year that the show has been on the air, it has won this award. How can this be? How do you square that WWE can win for Booker of the Year and Promotion of the Year, and yet these same people who voted WWE in those positions will vote AEW Dynamite as the best weekly show of the year? It's because the people who vote in these awards, they love great wrestling matches. That, above all else, they just want great wrestling. You're going to get a lot more of that on Dynamite and Collision than you will on Raw and SmackDown. Raw and SmackDown can have a great match every now and then. There's a lot of very good matches. There's good wrestling up and down the cards on Raw and SmackDown. But you're not getting the quality in ring on Raw and SmackDown that you are going to get on Dynamite or Collision on most weeks. But they can distinguish between great matches and great booking. The booking and the stories in AEW have not always been great. They've not been great. 2023 was not their best year, so you can like the matches while still thinking the booking sucks. It's the only way to really justify these results, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So I think that's what's going on here. So what do you watch wrestling for each week, right? Is it the banger matches, or is it mostly for the stories and the characters? And you're willing to tolerate Triple H dragging these stories out for 6 months to a year and sitting through long entrances and video packages every single week with the hope that at the end of all this, you'll get the payoff that you're looking for and it'll all be worth it in the end. Of course, it doesn't always work out that way, but it all comes down to preference. Elimination Chamber was a 4.5-hour show, including the kickoff. It had a total of 5 matches. Less than 2 hours of actual wrestling on that show. And that's a pay-per-view. You can get away with that on weekly TV, but that was a pay-per-view. But that's the formula that works for WWE. Their business has not been this hot since the Attitude Era. Back then, they were routinely putting 12 to 15,000 people in buildings for house shows. Their shows are hot right now, but they're not Steve Austin and Rock on Top hot. But their business is booming. That's what their audience likes or is willing to tolerate. You know, banger matches alone are not enough for 2 million fans on TV every week or 10,000 people in the arenas unless you've got a big attraction like AEW does with Sting's retirement coming up. If that was enough, AEW would be neck and neck in the ratings at Raw. And they wouldn't have a problem selling tickets in most markets, which clearly they do. Number 2, best weekly show, AEW Collision. AEW Collision definitely has some great matches on the show. No doubt about it. Last night, I was checking out the show last night. They had Bryan Danielson and Jun Akiyama in the main event. They had a match between Powerhouse Hobbs and Sammy Guevara that was wild as all hell. And I look back at 2023, and you had that series of matches with FTR and Bullet Club Gold. You had Kenny Omega against MJF for the AEW World title. Right, there were some fucking great matches on Collision last year. Now, they've gotten away from what they were at the very beginning. You definitely have more squash matches and enhancement matches on the show. And look, every now and then that's fine. I mean, you don't want to flood the show with them. But Collision has a lot of great matches. I'm not going to argue with it being high on the list. Number 2, again, up to the individual. Number 2, number 3, number 4, anything in that range I think is fine. Number 3, SmackDown. Number 4, CMLL Super Viernes. Number 5, NXT. Number 6, Raw. Number 7, Rampage. Number 8, New Japan on Access. Number 9, Impact Wrestling. And number 10, We Are Stardom. Worst television show. Number 1, NWA Power. Number 2, Raw. Number 3, NXT. Number 4, Power Slap, Road to the Title. Number 5, Rampage. Number 6, SmackDown. Number 7, Dynamite. And number 8, Ring of Honor. Pro Wrestling Match of the Year. The voters voted on Kenny Omega against Will Ospreay at the Tokyo Dome at number 1. And number 2, Kenny Omega against Will Ospreay in Toronto at Forbidden Door. I had them, when I did my Match of the Year list, I had them both at number 2 and number 3. Respectively, in that order. I thought the Tokyo Dome match was a little bit better. So no argument out of me. I had them number 2 and 3 for me personally. Number 3 on this list was my number 1, which was MJF against Bryan Danielson in an Iron Man match at last year's Revolution. Number 4, Match of the Year, Swerve Strickland against Hangman Adam Page at Full Gear in their Texas Death Match. Number 5, FTR against Jay White and Juice Robinson. Number 6, Bryan Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. That was the Wrestle Dream match. Number 7, Katsuhiko Nakajima against Kento Miyahara. Number 8, Will Ospreay against Tetsuya Naito. Number 9, Queen's Quest against Odio Tai. All right, and number 10. So you mean to tell me that number 9... Now, I have not seen number 9. I have not seen Queen's Quest against Odio Tai, but you put that above number 10, which was Gunther against Sheamus against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. I had that at number 4 on my list. That seems awfully low to me. Worst match of the year. Number 1, Bray Wyatt against LA Knight at the Royal Rumble. Now that's pretty shitty that he won worst match the same year that he died. Especially when I see 2 matches here that were even worse than that Mountain Dew pitch black nonsense. I'm not saying that LA Knight and Bray Wyatt don't deserve to be on the worst match of the year list. They do. But I'm looking down here at number 2 and number 3. These next 2 matches make this one look like Karl Gotch against Lou Thesz. Okay, if they turned the lights out and wore glow paint on their bodies. Number 2, which should be number 1, Tyrus against EC3 in a bull rope match at the NWA 75th anniversary show. This was a bull rope match, more like a bullshit match, with the stipulation that if Tyrus lost, he would retire, which he did. But I did watch that match, actually. I wish I hadn't. But I heard so, it was so awful, I said I have to see this for myself. And maybe people are exaggerating. Nope. It's pretty much par for the course when it comes to Tyrus matches during his run as the NWA champion. Awful. Absolutely dreadful. And then number 3. And this was, again, below the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match last year. Number 3, Shane McMahon / Snoop Dogg against The Miz at WrestleMania. This is a match that went... How long did this match go? How long, seriously, from when they rang the bell, Shane is bopping around, to the moment that he hurt himself? Did it even go a full minute? I don't see how it did. Michael Cole saying on commentary, Shane still got it. Shane still got it. Literally right before the man tears his quad. It's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. Now, credit to Snoop Dogg. I mean, obviously the referee was giving him cues and filling him in on what to do, but, he stepped in. He gave one of the worst looking people's elbows I've ever seen, but he stepped in there and did what he had to do, and they tried to save the segment. How the fuck do you have this at number 3, and you have the Bray Wyatt LA Knight match at number 1? This is what I'm talking about here. Doesn't make any sense. Number 4, Baron Corbin against Gable Steveson. Number 5, Ronda Rousey against Shayna Baszler. I think that was the SummerSlam match. Number 6, Roman Reigns against Jey Uso, which was incredibly boring. Number 7, Adam Cole against Chris Jericho. Number 8, Jeff Jarrett against Jeff Hardy. Oh, I remember that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre match. Number 9, Julia Hart against Abaddon, which was very bad. And number 10, Adam Cole against MJF at Wembley Stadium in London. I was surprised to see that on the list. But again, the Adam Cole MJF stuff was very story-driven. You would think the WWE fans would eat that shit up since they love story so much. I was surprised to see that here at number 10 because I thought that was a very good match. Number 1 on the list of most improved is Julia Hart, who has definitely improved. But number 2 is Dominic Mysterio. How do you put Julia Hart over Dominic Mysterio? That I don't agree with. Number 3 is a tie between Mariah May and Shota Umino. Number 5 is Swerve Strickland. How is Swerve Strickland on a list of most improved? Like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about in-ring ability, or are we talking about improved push and position on the show? I mean, what exactly are we talking about here? How is Swerve Strickland improved? The man has always been fantastic. Number 6 is Yota Tsuji. Number 7, Trick Williams, who definitely has improved. Number 8 is a tie between Big Bill and Hikuleo. And number 10 are the Gunn Brothers. Most overrated. Number 1, Sonata. Number 2, Roman Reigns. Number 3, CM Punk. Number 4, Tyrus. I gotta stop there. Number 4, Tyrus. Overrated? Are there people out there who were rating Tyrus highly to begin with? Who are these people? Introduce them to me. Number 5, MJF. Number 6, Austin Theory. Number 7, Nia Jax. Number 8, Chris Jericho. Number 9, LA Knight. And number 10, Jake Lee. Most underrated. Chad Gable at number 1. And again, I like Chad Gable. I'm a fan of Chad Gable, but I look at the title of this award, Most Underrated. Is he really underrated, or is he underutilized? I would say more the latter than the former. Number 2, Konosuke Takeshita. Again, who is underrating Takeshita? I don't think people are underrating his ability. Number 3, Daniel Garcia. Number 4, Speedball Mike Bailey. Number 5, Yota Tsuji. Number 6, Ricochet. Number 7, Roosh. Number 8, Commander. Number 9, Britt Baker. And number 10, Adam Page. Best television announcer. Excalibur wins in the number 1 spot. Number 2 is Ian Riccaboni. And yeah, to me, if you would have told me that Ian Riccaboni was number 1, I wouldn't have argued. In fact, that might have gone, that might have been where my vote went if I were voting in this, which I'm not. But you have Excalibur number 1, Ian Riccaboni number 2, Kevin Kelly number 3, Nigel McGuinness number 4, Chris Charlton number 5, and Michael Cole is way down at number 6. He deserved to be top 5 at least. He deserves top 5 at least. I mean, yeah, that's too low for him. Number 7, Tony Schiavone. Number 8 is Taz. Number 9 is Jim Ross. And number 10 is Jay Church, who does the English commentary for Dragon Gate. Worst television announcer. I will say that I can never take this category seriously after Gorilla Monsoon won the award 6 times in his career for worst announcer. The hell with that. But worst announcer, number 1 goes to Booker T. Number 2, Kevin Patrick. Number 3, Jim Ross. Number 4, Michael Cole. Number 5, Corey Graves. Number 6, Kevin Kelly. Number 7, Chris Jericho, who, if you're wondering why is Jericho on these lists for announcers, because he does announcing on Rampage. Number 8, Matt Stryker. Number 9, Vic Joseph. Vic Joseph, number 9. And number 10, Tony Schiavone. Best Major Wrestling Show. The number 1 award goes to Revolution. And Forbidden Doors, number 2. All In, number 3. WrestleMania Night 1 is number 4. All Out, number 5. Stardom, All-Star Queendom, number 6. New Japan Wrestle Kingdom at number 7. Ring of Honor, Keiji Muto's Last... Ring of Honor? The fuck? Oh, Dave. Boy, I didn't know Keiji Muto's Last Love was a Ring of Honor show. Jesus. That's number 8. Number 9, AEW Wrestle Dream. And number 10, Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor in Los Angeles. Revolution was a great show. The thing with AEW is they are very, very strong on pay-per-view. WrestleMania Night 1, I know some people might be upset looking at that going, how could that be number 4? That should have been number 1 or number 2. And yeah, maybe. But again, AEW does very well on pay-per-view when it comes to in-ring quality. Worst major wrestling show. Number 1, Crown Jewel in Riyadh. Number 2, NWA, the Samhain pay-per-view, which is the incorrect way to pronounce it. I always fuck that pronunciation up. But anyway, that was number 2. That was the cocaine segment with Father James Mitchell. That cost them a television deal. Now they're streaming on the app, though. They're streaming on the app. Good luck. Number 3, AEW World's End for worst major wrestling show. Number 4, Fastlane. Number 5 was Triple Mania. Number 6 was the NWA 75th Anniversary Show. Number 7, WrestleMania Night 2. Number 8, SummerSlam. Number 9, Payback. And number 10, NWA Nuff Said. And last but not least, I'm leaving out all the other little ancillary categories here. Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic. Number 1, WWE enabling Vince McMahon and him being back in power / TKO keeping him in a position of power. I think it is time to give this category a new name. It has been time for a new name since 1982, when Bob Backlund, being champion, won the award. Yes, Bob Backlund, being WWF champion, was the winner for Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic in 1982. Because people were sick and tired of Vince McMahon, Sr., going with Bob Backlund as the champion. By that point, it had been like 5 years. And look, I get it. You know, Bob Backlund, he was very milquetoast champion. 5 years of that, I could see where people would be over it. But Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic? I don't think so. I'm not sure how WWE enabling Vince McMahon and him being back in power is a disgusting tactic. Especially when the board of directors unanimously voted against bringing him back, and the only reason he ended up coming back is because he forced his way back in. He may be a disgusting person, but I don't see how that makes for a disgusting promotional tactic. It's basically the how low can they fucking go award. That's what Dave should call it from now on. Number 2, and this has been a staple on this list, WWE's continued relationship with Saudi Arabia. They have that at number 2. Number 3, NWA Cocaine Spot on pay-per-view. Number 4, Power Slap and continuing on TV after Dana White slapped his wife. How is that not number 1? How is this number 4 and not number 1? Number 5, AEW signing Ric Flair. Number 6, AEW Juice Robinson uses roll of quarters on MJF. Number 7, TKO ignoring Vince McMahon and Dana White transgressions. Number 8, Colby Covington using the death of Leon Edwards' father to promote a fight. What? Number 9, WWE hiring CM Punk, which I just saw that and I laughed. WWE hiring CM Punk had 14 people voting that as the most disgusting promotional tactic of 2023. And number 10, Sean Strickland's openly homophobic comments with no repercussions from UFC or TKO with 11 votes. There are your reader-voted Observer Awards for 2023.